Hi there and welcome to this supervisor training video for Mitel CX with the Talkative integration. So we're going to be covering first of all how to map up users and queues. Then we're going to take a quick look at chatbots and voicebots. Then we're going to look at how to manage agents and look at reporting in real time. And then finally we're going to look at some of the historical reporting. First of all, how does the integration work? So Mitel has what's known as an open media routing type. And for this integration, Talkative chats, whether this is web chats, AI chats, SMS, WhatsApp, Facebook, these will all be coming through to the queue as an open media interaction type. So what this means is all of your Mitel reports, you'll want to look at the open media reporting. You'll need to ensure that your agents have the open media skill set. So in this case, I can take one phone call, up to 2 emails, and up to 2 concurrent chat sessions. And you can use the Mitel workloads to choose how you combine and blend those interaction types for queues and agents. For agents, they only will ever need to come into the MCX portal, both to look at their history, but also for their inbox for real-time interactions. So what we're going to look at first of all is how we set up the queues and users. For a supervisor, while you can get a lot of your reports inside of MCX, there's a number of setup things that you'll want to do within the Talkative portal. So first of all, you'll need to ensure that all your users have been added in, and you can either add these users in individually or you can use a CSV upload. Within the solution, there's 3 different account levels, or 3 main account levels. So we've got account holder. These are the users that have the most permissions within the app and can control all settings. You've then got supervisor. These have access to all the reporting and can manage agents, but they don't have access to the very top level settings. And then finally agents. These can just handle interactions. So what you want to do is when you create the user, you want to do this before obviously a user joins. You need to add in their email, name and their role. This will send out a welcome email to them where they can set their password. The solution also has an option for single sign-on, and to access that, as with most of the settings in Talkative, you just want to search here in your settings, and then this is where you can set up your SSO, which is the subject of a separate training video and documentation. Once you've added your users, you'll see a reference to groups, but because we're using the Mitel to route the interactions, we don't have to worry about groups at all. The only other thing we'll want to set up is queues. And in my demo account, I've got a lot of different queues here, but you'll probably only need 3, 4 or 5 queues. So if you've got, say, a sales queue and a service queue for your incoming chats, you'll need both those queues configured in Mitel as open media queues, but also within Talkative. In this case, I've got a chat queue configured. There are a number of settings that you can use in here, but the main one that you want to ensure is configured is the queue routing settings. So in this case, it's pulling through all of my queues from my Mitel, and in this case, it's connected up to my personal queue. So just need to ensure that this is selected, otherwise the chats won't be routed through. Essentially what's happening is when you create a conversation or an interaction inside of Talkative, when it comes to presenting that interaction to the queue, this lookup here will ensure that we're sending it to the right queue within Mitel, so it's handing it off to the right agent. There are a number of other settings in here, as I said, but you really don't need to worry about most of these. The only one that we recommend that you do set up is the business hours. So again, this is a separate menu item that we can look for. And we've got the ability to have multiple business hours, and then you assign these to queues. So your default business hours are set here. In this case, I've got a 24/7 option. And this is going to be my default business hours preset that's applied to all queues unless I've made a specific override. This is also where you can put in things like public holidays or days when you're closed. This just means that on those days you don't have to come in and manually turn people offline in the queue. So in this case, I've got a specific override called motors. It's got some weird shifts here, and I've just applied this to a specific queue. So maybe if your support queue is 24/7, you would have that just on the default, but if you've got a sales specialist queue, you can assign those shifts, business hours here, and then apply it to that queue. Now, when it comes to the queue being online, it will take into account both, and if we just click into a queue to show this, in this case, the queue is showing as offline because even though the main company is online, which will almost always be the case, the queue is within the business hours we just set. However, there are no users online in the queue. And we've got some additional settings under here that we can look at. But basically, this is looking within the Mitel to see, are there users online in that queue or not? And if we come over to our Mitel dashboards and we look at the default dashboards, we can see that there are no users online in the ACD, and therefore the queue is showing as offline. Great, once you got that set up, that's everything I think from a queue user business hour point of view. The next thing that we're going to look at then is the chatbot. So in Talkative, you need to be an account holder to manage these chatbots. And the full walkthrough of this, it can be covered in a separate video. But essentially, you have a workflow builder here inside of the platform. And you don't necessarily have to have this chatbot. You can have the chats go straight through to a live queue. However, the majority of deployments will use this chatbot as the initial, think of it as the initial queue. So the user will come here first of all. And there's a lot of things you can do in this chatbot builder. But one of the main things is this AI lookup. And this will allow users to ask a question against the knowledge base. And then if an answer can be found, it will give them to the user. And if it can't be found, then we can go down this separate workflow. But the key point is, in this workflow, we can choose to transfer an interaction to a queue. And these are the same Talkative queues that we've built up. So here you might want to have a certain path for, say, if we want to go to a sales queue versus a support queue. That can be done in this workflow editor here. Now, one of the main things that we'll need to think about from a maintenance point of view is less so on this chatbot workflow side, and it's more around the knowledge base itself. So what actually is a knowledge base? So the way this works is, and if we just look back at this workflow here, what we're doing is over chat, we are asking the chatbot to, using a language model, to find an answer in the knowledge base. So what we're not doing is we're not just giving something like ChatGPT to answer questions about your organization. Instead, we are completely scoping it down to only answer questions that are in your knowledge base. So we often get asked, does the chatbot learn over time? And the answer is, or the way we think about it is, the chatbot is only as good as the knowledge it has access to. So what we're going to show in a moment is actually how you can look to see, based on how real users are using the platform, how you can improve the knowledge base by adding information to that knowledge base over time. So what we're going to do is come back to our knowledge base here. So we can create a number of these, and you give it a name, and then you can give the knowledge base a number of different sources of information. In this case, what we've done is we've taken our support website, which I'm just going to copy here, and we're going to put it into this website scanner. And what this will do is it will go to that website, and it will work on any website, and it will come back and find all the URLs, and then all you need to do is add them in. And you can manually delete or add new URLs, and it can be from any website, so it doesn't have to just be limited to your own. And what this will do is then go to that website, take all the content, and put it into essentially a massive text file from which the AI can find the answer to the customer's question. You can choose to periodically refresh your knowledge base. So if you've got perhaps an e-commerce website, you might want to refresh this daily or weekly. But if it's something that your information doesn't change that much over time, you could just leave this as never or monthly. You can also put in documents, PDFs, spreadsheets, and so on in here. And you can even just type in information. And the combination of this will give you your knowledge base. Now, what you don't have to necessarily worry about is making sure that all that data is really nicely structured. You do want to ensure that the documentation is indeed correct, and hopefully that there's not too much conflicting information in there. But the language models are very good at understanding all of the information in there and looking through all that data and finding the correct answer. So once we've got our knowledge base in place, we're able to save this. If you are putting in a lot of different URLs, this can take up to half an hour to go to the website and build that knowledge base. And one of the key things about this AI chatbot setup is this concept of a prompt. So what's happening with the AI is we are saying, here's the customer question and the transcript to date. How would you answer this question based on the knowledge base? Now, that is fine as a general purpose approach, but your business, your contact center is going to be different. You might not want to respond to certain types of queries, or you may want to have longer answers, or you may want to have shorter answers, and so on. So this prompt, in this case, this is a very small and basic prompt, just gives a bit of context to the agent and a simple command to include links in the responses where possible. Now, you can put a lot of information in here, and there's a bit of an art to this prompting, but the nice thing about this is you speak to it like you would a human. So you can say, for example, please never talk about pricing if you're an e-commerce website, or for any inquiries about HR, please, direct the user to a certain email address. Things like that you can put in. You can easily change this at any time. And there's some good documentation that explains this and gives some nice examples. But essentially, once you've done this, you have a working chatbot and a working knowledge base. There are some other tools in here. One of the really nice things is this concept of a test suite. So what you might find with AI in this generative AI approach is you can never necessarily know what answer will be said, or particularly the way the answer will be phrased, because it's a bit like the same way a human is going to get a question from a customer and respond based on their own knowledge. It's not going to be a scripted answer. And that has a number of benefits, because it means you don't have to take time to draft particular responses, and you don't have to design conversation turns in a laborious manner. But what it means as a potential drawback is if you want to test to see how it's going to answer common questions, you will have to actually just ask the chatbot what those questions are. So what we've got here is a test suite, and what this will do is, rather than you manually going to the chatbot and asking it each time, which, for example, we can do back in our workflow editor here, I can press preview, and I can then go and ask a question. So I can put in a question here. Instead, what this test suite does is it will let you put together a load of questions and ask them and get the answer really quickly. So you can either build these questions yourself, or you can build them based on an AI Insights report. And we'll show this in more detail in a moment, but this is actually looking at what are the real questions customers are asking. And this means that you can, quickly see how the chatbot is going to respond to your most common questions. In this case, I'm going to pick one of these reports here. It's probably going to be a load of random questions, so maybe not the best example. So in this case, we've got these top 20 questions. I'm going to then choose my knowledge base, and then I'm going to use the language model that I've got set. And I'm just going to see what responses I get back. I'm guessing a lot of these are going to be no answer found because they are from our demo system. But you can see here, we've got, well, actually a good number of answers. And this allows us to quickly get a sense check of, is the knowledge base, how is it working? What are the sorts of quality of responses I'm going to get from my customers? This means that now we can update the knowledge base, maybe with a new prompt or a new set of information. And then we can run this same test again in a matter of seconds. And we can see previous tests as well. So we don't necessarily have to save this. And I can also write notes. I can say, here I changed the prompt to do X, Y, Z. And I can maybe look to see any, here we go. So if I click in here, I can see what was said in this particular knowledge base run. Great, so that's how we test the knowledge base. We also mentioned that we could see how we could improve the knowledge base over time. So what we've got is knowledge base suggestions. So the idea here is, because the system will keep a track of every time it couldn't answer a question, it couldn't find that answer in the knowledge base. Once you've got enough data in the system, so more than 10 transcripts where it couldn't find an answer, you'll get an email notification to say, hey, we've got some new suggestions. So what you do then is you click on the knowledge base, and you click View New Suggestions. And we've got, for each question, kind of a summary of what the issue is. And then we've got a suggested answer. Now, this is from a lot of different demo answers, so most of these are nonsensical and maybe not the best examples, but what we can do is actually click in if we wanted to see. Let's maybe click into this one. We could see the full transcript here. We could see exactly what was being said if we wanted to double check what was so unclear. And maybe we can then, if this one we're going to actually include this. This is something that I think should be in the knowledge base because customers are asking about it a lot. I can add that, and then when I press save, it's going to be saved to my knowledge base as an additional piece of text that the AI can refer. So this is definitely something that you'll want to periodically review, maybe every week or every month once you're up to speed. And this is how you get that higher containment rate, higher resolution rate over time. And this is how one of the key ways you improve your chatbot. Great, so moving on then, so how do we actually look at other reports in the platform? So what I'm going to do is jump back to our Mitel CX dashboard. And what I can first of all do is look at specific history interactions. So I'm just going to click on this one here. And what this will do is that same transcript view is going to be embedded as an iframe on this page. And we can see everything that was said like a full transcript history. And the idea is we can see all of those individual interactions in Mitel. So as a supervisor, you can see all of them, and agents can see their own as well. From a real-time perspective, all of your queue and agent utilization stuff is managed by Mitel CX. So here I can see, what my agent is doing, how long they've been in that state, and I can look at my Mitel reports to get a view of anything real time. Now, in addition to the Mitel dashboards, there's also the Talkative dashes, and these can be easily embedded into the MCX platform. This includes both real-time chat monitoring. So in this case, that same chatbot thing I just started, I can actually see here. I can also message the customer, and I can view that interaction log page using the tooling here. And this will fill up with as many chats as you have on the go at once. You've also got a nice sentiment thing here. And as I said, you can actually message and whisper to the agent, and they can whisper back to you in real time. And as messages come through, those messages will update. There's also then Talkative's other kind of real-time dashes here. And there is some overlap with the default Mitel dashboards. However, there are a few things that Talkative captures which are not natively able to be stored in the Mitel platform. These include things like sentiment analysis and AI chatbot containment rates and customer feedback. In order to embed these dashboards, it's really easy. You can just edit a dashboard and then you put in this dashboard URL. So what I'm going to do is just go back to my Talkative dashboard here, and I'm going to click on Live Dashboard. This is where you can manage, and if you wanted to view these same dashboards, and you have the ability to make as many of these as you want, and you can have a lot of editing capability on these dashboards. So in this case, I'm going to edit this dash. And you've got a pretty powerful editor here. So you can move widgets around. You can put in new stats. And in this case, we've got, we can make this a different type of graph. We can look at both interactions historically and real time. And we can look at things like customer sentiment score, feedback, and some of these stats which we're collecting in the Talkative platform that aren't necessarily part of the Mitel default dashboards. And I won't go through all of the different filters here, but you can do a lot. You can even show things like category codes. The dashboard itself, you can either have it just available to logged in users, and you can narrow that down based on permissions, or you can actually make this a public URL, and this can be used as a wallboard. So maybe you want to share it around, maybe you want to have it on a TV screen in the contact center, or as a quick link for management to review. So in this case, I'm just going to save this and go back. And I want to then just quickly show how you grab that URL. You've just got this button here where you can copy it and then share it around. You can add as many of these dashboards as you want, and you can create a new one and so on. So there's a lot of capability in this real-time view. In addition to these dashboards, which somewhat rely on you looking at the dashboards at the time, we have a couple of other quite powerful tools. So alerts is a way that you can create proactive alerts to be sent to you via notification, email, or SMS. And you can look at things like if the queue gets to a certain size, if positive feedback gets below a certain level, or maybe just that you've got so many chats in a day and you want to be notified by that proactively, you can build these out. So in this case, average wait time is 2 minutes. So in this case, we've got average wait time. So here we can look at, we want to look at historical interactions. And then we want not just a count of how many interactions we've had, but actually what is the acceptance time, which is kind of your queue time. And then you can make that more than 120 seconds. Equally, maybe I want to look at, if we look at interactions historical again, the positive feedback. So I can then filter, maybe I only want to look at certain queues. And if the positive feedback is less than, 50, I then want to send myself an email saying, this is a warning to let you know that interactions have dropped below a certain level. So basically there's a lot you can do here to be a bit more clever about how you're monitoring the contact center over time. I think that covers it from a real-time reporting perspective. The next thing that we're going to look at is analytics. So again, your open media report inside of Mitel will give you that true omni-channel view of how different agents are handling different media types, queue types across channels, and so on. But what analytics will do is kind of give you that view from a Talkative perspective. And again, there are a couple of things here that you can get in Talkative that you can't necessarily get in the Mitel. And these specifically are chatbot containment rate. So here I can see I'm consistently between 85 and 90% containment rate for my chatbot, which is pretty good. And my CSAT per week, it's a demo system, so maybe unrealistic, but I'm consistently getting 100%, which is pretty great. I can filter these reports to look over a certain period, and I can do this down to an hourly report. So if I wanted to look at, how many interactions am I doing per hour, things like that, you can do in here. So there's a number of pre-built reports, so everything from, how many interactions is each agent and chatbot doing, how long is the average interaction, what is the sentiment, what devices are my customers using. There's a lot you can do in here. And you can even create your own report. And here you can, again, use a number of different filters. So maybe if I want to look at sentiment, I'm going to look at my average sentiment score. And I'm just going to preview this here. And I can see this trending downwards, a bit worrying. But maybe I want to then look at that and group it by queue, filter it by agent, and all of that good stuff. Now, this analytics report builder, it's a little bit unuser-friendly, if we're being honest. So what we've introduced is actually this AI assistant. And this is a natural language way to build out your own reports using the same tooling that we have there, but in a nice, easy-to-use manner. So why don't we ask, how many chats did each agent do in April? And what this is going to do is it will build out all of that dashboard report, and it just means that we can quickly ask it in the same way we'd ask a colleague. We're just asking the AI, and the AI is going to look at that anonymized data, so there's nothing sensitive being shared here, and we're just going to save that as well. We can also ask follow-up questions, and this is a really powerful tool that I think users get a lot of value out of. So next time we then refresh our analytics dashboard, that's going to be saved as a report, and we can download this as an image, and if we want to tweak it slightly, we can go in and edit it. So that's a pretty powerful tool. So yeah, just to recap then, we'd really recommend you use Talkative for the customer satisfaction reports, sentiment, chatbot analytics, and some of the more, I guess, granular digital engagement type reports, such as what page has the customer contacted us on, what device they were using, and so on. We can also get these reports sent out to us. So this is an analytics bulletin I made already. We can create another one. And that's a pretty rubbish report. So what we're going to do is just create a new one here. We can pull those reports that we made just now. So number of chats by agent, and I want to look at feedback by agent as well. I'll call this agent report. And I want to group this by the month. And I want to send it to, maybe myself and some colleagues, and I want to send it out the first of the month. And then in my inbox, I'm going to get that report. I don't necessarily need a Talkative login to see that. I'm just going to get the data there and then. So this is definitely something we'd recommend you set up. The next analytics report is, I think, the most, arguably the most useful, certainly the most exciting at the moment, and it's this AI Insights report. So the AI Insights report, you can create a one-off report or you can manage your scheduled reports. And if I just click into this as an example, what this will do is take all of your conversations over a given time period, and it will use a large language model to summarize what are the common topics, the most common topics customers are contacting us about. So in this case, again, it's all demo data, so maybe not that representative, but this is really useful because we can see, without having to manually review anything, why are customers contacting us? And I can click into this transcript if I want to see exactly what was said, and I've got an automation suggestion as well. Now, this becomes really powerful because if we either create a one-off report or manage our scheduled reports, it's the same form. We can look at this on a per queue basis, and we can add in this custom prompt. So this is where we can say interesting things like, what are the 5 most common products that get brought up in conversations? Or what are the 5 reasons that members are complaining? And this allows you to really easily and quickly get that insight that might otherwise take you hours, if not days, of manually trawling through transcripts. So obviously this is should always be accompanied by informal, tacit discussions between colleagues, but this is a really powerful tool, not just for the contact center, but for marketing, for product, for member services, for the whole business, to understand through all our customer conversations, what are people contacting us about. So here, I won't run this report, but you can choose the time frame you want to run the report over, and you can get it again sent out to your email, either just this once or weekly or monthly. And again, you can filter by queue. So yeah, this is a really powerful part of the platform. The other thing we can do from a historical perspective is look on this interaction logs page. So this is kind of like the list of all of the different transcripts and conversations that we've had, and allows us to drill into them on a per interaction level. So we've got some kind of top level information here, and we've got where there's enough data, and some of these are just test ones, so they've just got view interaction as the summary. We've got this summary here of what's being said, and we can click into any of these, or we can filter them. So we can filter by feedback, we can filter by user, and we can even filter by messages. So if you have a subject access request, or someone wants to maybe query something that was said, you can search for users in the Ignite history, but this doesn't necessarily have all of the transcript information. So this is where you want to go if you want to search the transcript, basically. What I can do is filter this. So I'm maybe going to look over the last couple of months. And I'm going to look for my colleague Stephen. And it's going to return this filtered list. And I want to see, this is a particularly long voice call. So I'm going to click in here. And I can see the full transcript. And it's quite a long call. I can see the AI summary. And I can see a bunch of other data in here. I also have the ability to block the customer. And if this is a web chat, it will block the customer's ID, the IP address. I also have the ability to delete interaction data, and this will clear this transcript from the system. There's also, if we're using interaction data, which can be programmatically taken out of the conversation, this is also shown here. And I've got a call recording, and there's a few other bits of information like the sentiment score. So that is very much a whistle-stop tour of the platform. There are a number of other settings, but I think that is a good summary for a general supervisor role in the platform. If you found that anything didn't make sense, please let us know, and we're always happy to help show what the platform can do. And we're always looking for ways to improve the product. So please reach out if there's anything you'd like to see that isn't in the platform today. Thank you for watching.